Hello, and welcome to part 1 of 38 Moments. Now, I don't rightfully remember where we are first introduced to the idea of the gate being able to remain open for 38 minutes under normal circumstances. Yes, if there's an external energy attached to it, a massive external energy, it can remain open indefinitely or until that energy runs out. But under normal circumstances, it only remains open for 38 minutes. And up until this episode, it was just like a number. Like, I don't know, when they first introduced it, they thought like, wow, we can use this later on, 38 minutes, in a 45-minute episode, leaving on both sides a little bit of extra time for the setup and a little bit of extra time for the end. If they did think that they might use it in the future, well, good for them. If not, well, it still worked out fine. Anyway, we open with this lovely shot of the jumper over a planet. And then we see Ford talking anxiously to Markham and Stackhouse, and he actually uses the term thread the needle, something we are introduced to in the Stargate universe by Master Braytag, if I remember. And of course, this brings us back to the Ford problem. Obviously, Ford is pretty solidly embedded in the lore and terminology of the Stargate universe. I mean, the universe, not not to be confused with Stargate Universe, the super sucky series. Now, here's the thing. I think if the series had leaned more heavily into Ford's knowledge of the Stargate world, he might have been a very useful character. If they had limited Rodney's knowledge to really just the technology, then Ford could have been the bridge between the technology and the present and all the setups and stuff. He could have been the one to explain to John how it's normally done and the terminology and all the stuff. Like, he could have been the guy with the experience of Stargate travel, especially if he had been if he had served on an SG team before and he knows all the ins and outs. And I do feel that they do something similar with Evan Lorne. And yeah, we'll get back to Evan later. But I don't know why they didn't do this with Ford. Like, they actually had a good concept with him and they just didn't use it. And I would like you all to know that I never wanted Ford not to work. When I first saw this, I had no feeling about him one way or the other, but as like all the other characters, I would have liked to see where his character arc led. I had the same amount of hopefulness that he would be a good character as I did towards Taylor or Rodney, because keep in mind, I didn't watch SG1 before this, so like all of them, I was at the same level. If I say Ford didn't work, it is a conclusion I arrived at. I didn't start there. Anyway, back to the episode, and Markham and or Stackhouse, I don't know which is which, but it's always the two of them. One of them dials the gate, and we see why Ford is in charge, because John has a little problem. Rodney is freaking out, but Taylor is doing her best to calm him down. She's being very calm and she's trying to diffuse Rodney, and she's doing the best. And then we see how the jumper retracts its drive pods, and we see how one of them does not retract all the way. Now, obviously, this isn't communicated to the pilot. I don't know why. My theory, and this is the one time we actually have to theorize a little bit. Now, I'm pretty sure that the Lantians would have created sensors that would have read the malfunction. I'm just assuming that the pilots didn't realize they got the warning, as this is probably still the first week or so they've been on Atlantis. There's a bit of a leap first, look later mentality to the entire Stargate universe. Did we just discover some really cool 10,000-year-old flying machines? Well, how about instead of studying them, or, I don't know, reading some of the manuals that would be there, we just take them into enemy territory and hope for the best. Hope we figure it out along the way. I'm not accusing the writers of this. This is something that's been part of the Stargate universe since the very beginning. I think the last time they had a backup plan might have been during the original movie. Unlike, as John asserted in the previous episode, they are not, in fact, very careful explorers at all. Anyway, back on Atlantis, Elizabeth is informed of the situation on the jumper. And what in the everlasting heck is she wearing? I mean, first off, why isn't she wearing her regular dark red shirt? But much more importantly, why is she wearing one of the ugliest shirts I've ever seen? In the previous recordings, I said I'll come back to the fact that everyone's wearing a shirt, a color-coded shirt. And this is why, because this might be the worst shirt I've ever seen. I mean, the materials are wrong. The details are wrong. There's a little nip there at the bottom, like the sleeves are too long. And don't get me started on the color. What was the wardrobe department thinking? I know I mentioned that both Captain Janeway of Star Trek and Sam Carter had some arguments with the wardrobe department. The wardrobe department wanted them to be more sexy, and both of them said, no, these are soldiers. I mean, but this isn't making Elizabeth look more sexy. This isn't making her look more commanding. I mean, if she had a pin and a badge in the previous episode, now she just has this atrocity. And it's like one of those shirts that you see on display or just hanging on a hanger in the store, and you buy it, you think, oh, it's kind of cute, and you buy it, and when you fit it for the first time at home, you realize that this is just the worst thing you've ever seen, but you haven't gotten around to actually throwing it away. Yeah, that's the vibes this shirt is doing. I mean, why was this there in the first place? I mean, from the wardrobes department, I'm fascinated by how the story and the directing and the acting come together, but also how the behind the scenes, the special effects and the wardrobe came together. And this is weird. Why is she wearing this? This is so ugly. Anyway, I also need to point out that when Ford tells her they have medical emergencies, she asks to talk to John, and when she hears it's John with the medical emergencies, she kind of gets all quiet. Now, as anyone who have watched Stargate would know, some sexual tension and some romance is built into the story. Stargate might be a male-orientated story, but even you guys like romance. I mean, you might not think you like romance, but you do. I mean, all the best action movies have romance subplots. And, I mean, if you're like me, you also like it that it's like there's the main story and then the romance is mostly a subplot. I mean, the men really seems to like the idea that their heroism will get them the girl. And I can't really argue with that. It is what it is, and I kind of like it too. And at this juncture, I just need to say, this isn't me saying I'm not like other girls. I'm exactly like most other hetero women. We like manly men. Give me a man who respects me, who supports me, but can also literally physically pick me up and catch me and pick me up when I fall. I mean, I love it. It gives me butterflies. So, all of this being said, I feel that right from the start, there has been a spark between Elizabeth and John. And for those of you who have been or are in the fandom, you know it's even called Sparky. And this episode pushes that hard. And not just from Elizabeth's side, although at this point it's mostly her reacting differently towards John than, say, Carson or Rodney. And and I have to admit, this intrigues me. As a kind of a behind the scenes thing again. Like, who decided on this? Did the actress, I suppose, get it as part of her character description? Like, did the director or the writers put it in there? Or did the actress take a look at the script and the characters and decide, my character would definitely have a crush on John or the character of John? Honestly, I wish I knew how all of this fit together. There's so many movie parts that come together to create this story, and I'm so intrigued to know how they all fit together. I mean, it's a story within a story within a story, and I wish I had the knowledge. I don't know if I would like it, but I would like to think I would like it. Anyway, like to think that I would like to know. Okay. Anyway, Ford explains to Elizabeth that there's a bug attached to John's neck, and she mentions that there is a massive risk of bringing such a creature to Atlantis. And I have to give credit, Elizabeth might be halfway in love with John, but she's still the leader of Atlantis and she puts Atlantis first. Now, as a human in a relationship with my husband, I would hope that my husband would put me first, but this isn't a rom-com or a drama. This is sci-fi action drama. So her first characterization is that she's the leader of Atlantis. So Atlantis first. And of course, her protest is noted. And when Ford finally insists they have no other choice, she allows them to return through the gate. And I love this take charge Ford. I would really have liked to see more of this Ford, not the one we finally got. On Atlantis, Elizabeth does send this bro to go quarantine the jumper bay. And this is a perfect 4-second moment. Now, I know I keep mentioning stuff like this, but I feel this is part of what makes a story good or not. This story feels thought through. This story would have been no different if Elizabeth hadn't taken the moment to quarantine the jumper bay or to send this guy to do so. Or, if the writers and the directors hadn't included it, and if they hadn't, hired this guy just for that 4 seconds. I mean, and let's be honest, this never goes anywhere. Before the jumper returns to Atlantis, they actually drop the bug. So we never get to see the quarantined jumper bay. But it shows that the characters are completely acting within their setting, and it obviously heads off any viewers and, YouTubers, let's be honest, who look at the screen and scream, what if the bug got loose on Atlantis? Elizabeth knew there was a risk. Why not take the precaution? Well, she did. And she did. And it's been 2.5 minutes and we are finally ready to enter the gate. And they're stuck. They are very stuck. Back in Atlantis, everyone's wondering why the jumper isn't appearing, as the gate is still active. And I know this is CGI, but seeing a half-disappeared jumper like this is always cool. Actually, I know how this is done. I mean, the effect, not on the jumper, not on this specifically, but from the start, the CGI on Stargate has been very good. And one of the things is, of course, that moment where everyone, including Malbs and stuff, move through the gate. Now, obviously, from our end, from behind the scenes or in the real world, it's just a gate. There's no actual puddle, and so the actors are probably just walking through. Like there's probably a bit of ramp on the other side, so they walk through, and the scene cuts, and afterwards they have to CGI the puddle in, and the way they got to see where the puddle starts on every person on every spot wasn't just guesswork. They actually had multiple little laser pointers embedded in the inside track of the prop, the gate prop, and as the actors walked through, it would make this little laser pointer line around surrounding them, so they know where to put the little CGI markers. I love it. That's very, very neat. Anyway, back on board the jumper as they get up from having ground to a halt, Rodney immediately jumps rightfully to the conclusion that the only way this could have happened was if one of the drive pods had not retracted all the way. And they had apparently been shot at. Something we haven't seen yet, but they have been shot at, so obviously one of the drive pods got damaged. And anyway, speaking of cool and the little laser pointers, I bet there were laser pointers there. Anyway, it seems like they were able to pull Ford back out of the puddle, and rightly his first reaction is to freak out a little bit. Of course, because Ford could be pulled back out, we get the main team together for the first time, and I guess this episode will show if they can work together or not. I do like that right after Ford got pulled back, and he and Rodney has this little aside, this little back and forth where he's like, "Is that?" And before he can finish the question, Rodney's like, "Yeah," and like they obviously. This is covering ground we, the viewers, have already seen, but it doesn't linger on it. It just takes this moment to give us a little bit more about the relationship between Ford and Rodney, which is fun. I really like it. And just so you know, speaking of Ford and Rodney and their relationship, I've seen some ships, relationship shipping. I've seen some weird ones. But I don't think I've ever seen a Rodney Ford ship. Anyway, I like how Ford takes such formal charge of the situation with the little hands and the serious little face. I mean, it's very cute. Of course, Rodney is impatient for him to get to the point, and though we retread some ground we have now seen twice, it gives us a little extra info, a little extra characterization, and by now we get to realize they're going to play this episode out minute by minute. The gate has been open for a minute and a half. That's how long ago they opened it, and that's where we are. That's high stakes episode. Now, personally, I would have left out, I've been thinking about this a little. If I had written this episode, I would have left out the flashbacks all the way. In fact, I would have probably thought to write it or to film it. I'm not a director or something, but I recently saw the first episode of that British series Adolescence, I think. That's all the time from this kid's point of view. Like the camera never or the camera they never cut scenes. It's one long scene. That would have been great if they had followed it through on Atlantis, seen them move through. Anyway, they didn't think of it, and I suppose that's very complicated. But this is still good. There's still enough tension, and we do get to see the main team work together for the first time. And Is Elizabeth's shirt transparent? Can we see her bra here? Like, yes, I know I seem obsessed with this shirt, but literally from the first time I've seen this episode, I've been wondering how one piece of clothing can be this ugly. Let's be honest, you don't watch Stargate for the fashion. Get the one time something close to it, or at least some bastardization of the idea usurping the word enters the picture, we are confronted with this absurdly fugly shirt. Please just give the poor character her red shirt and burn this thing. Like, don't even donate it. Not even the poorest of poor should have this shirt afflicted upon them, especially not if after all of this it's still transparent. Like, now it's ugly and you need something to wear under it. I hate this shirt. Okay, so at this point we get to one of my favorite little scenes. In Rising, we see that Elizabeth and Rodney usually get along fine. With him even showing a softer side as he tells her he thinks she did something, she did the right thing. Then in Hide and Seek, we see that Rodney gets even on her nerves, which is not easy to do. And this time, Rodney is going full freak out, running so far ahead with what he knows that nobody, including us, are keeping up. So, and especially Elizabeth, who knows even less than we do, because she hasn't seen the inside of the jumper as we did. And she tells him, Rodney, shut up, cool it. She and the people on board the city need to catch up to help him. And anyway, he doesn't look very happy about it. I mean, he's not very graceful about it. He's very annoyed. But Ford at least takes over and takes us in a little flashback, explaining how they had to go down to the planet to find the Wraith base, or what they thought was a Wraith base, in Rising. And honestly, I like the idea that the first thing they did when going through the gate, the first off-world mission, was to go check in on the Wraith. I mean, this is all, when I said right at the beginning, this is all one big story, this is what I meant. Like, it's all logically following one upon the other. It's not little stories. I mean, SG1, the first episode after Intruder, whatever, or their first off-world mission was to world of the Huns. But here it's all logical. Like, they went to the Pegasus Galaxy, they woke the Wraith, we got to see a little moment, a little time, we got to take a loop off to see how the humans got used to living on Atlantis. And the first thing they do when they do set out into the galaxy is to, is to go check on the Wraith. Because of course they did. What else would they do? Hubby! Sorry, that's my husband telling me he's on his way. And anyway, now, at this point we learn that the Wraith have huge honking ships. And not even Taylor knew that they were on board a ship. And she also thought it was a base. Like, she said in Rising that no Thosians ever returned and from being taken. So she wouldn't have known that it was anything besides a base either. And anyway, the CGI on this has always been a little bit iffy. I mean, sorry, CGI guys, that's very badly done. Anyway, they speculate that because the Wraith hibernate for centuries, trees could have overgrown the ship in that time and now just up and left. Taylor remarks that means they must have been held captive on one of the Great Wraith ships, like the one she showed John in the drawings in Rising, and that now the Wraith had left to begin culling wolves, which is a nice stake for the series. And then they run into some Wraith soldiers, and they run away, because why take them on, apparently. And at this point, Rodney interrupts Ford's flashback, dropping the big thing. They have less than 38 minutes to figure out how to get through the Stargate, because after that time, the Stargate's going to close and it's going to be bad. For a start, Markham and Stackhouse will not rematerialize, because the Stargate only materializes... the Stargate will only rematerialize the jumper after the entire thing has passed through. So they will lose 2 lives, and they will be stuck back in the back on the Wraith planet without air, or it's a bad thing. They need to find a way to get through the Stargate within 35 minutes at this point. Elizabeth, of course, asks Rodney what he needs her to do, and he tells her that he needs her to get people on it to figure out what to do. And she remarks that she'll get Kavanaugh, Grodin, and Simpson on it. And he even adds that they should add Zelenka. And I like how Elizabeth knows all her people, like she knew who to get in there. I mean, of course she does, but a little affirmation of character is always good. And then Rodney cuts Elizabeth off because he's an asshole, but yeah, he's our asshole. And on that note, I think we need to take a bit of a break. We're 10 minutes into the episode and 3 minutes into the 38. The stakes have been laid out, and when we return next time, we'll start on solving the problem. So, like always, if you like this, click the like button, subscribe, comment and share. And may your wardrobe never have included Elizabeth's fugly shirt.